Never any of the teams that I've played for, since.
What sort of a team was it? Was it a club?
When the red robin comes bobbing along, there'll be no more sobbing when he starts throbbing his old sweet song. Ah, wake up, you sleepyhead, get up, get out of bed, cheer up, the sun is live, love, laugh and be happy. What if I've been through, now I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for hours and hours. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red robin starts bobbing along.
The day that we won was the big day, but I think at that time we had a consistent team, we had a strong team, we had people who could put the ball in the back of the net, but we'd built that team over a number of years.
It clicked as a unit. It came up through the youth side, most of the youth team and that.
I think the first game that I can remember was actually in the First Division, in the days of Chelsea and Newcastle United.
It's been 16 years since Bristol last had a football team to represent it at the very highest level of the game. And whilst it's a city that offers so much in terms of industry, commerce and sheer diversity, it remains, oddly, an underachiever when it comes to the country's national sport. So perhaps a timely reminder is required. A reminder that once alight, the West Flame can burn as brightly as anyone's. And 20 years ago, here at Ashton Gate, that fire was well and truly lit.
And it is one of the most marvellous moments of my life, but we're moving forward.
HTV sports reporter Roger Malone saw it all from the press box. 2 decades on, he still keeps a close eye on the sporting scene in the West. Who better then to fly out to North Carolina and meet up with the man who made it all happen?
OK, Alan, 20 years on since that magic night when you took City up to the top division in England, and you're still at it, still coaching.
I'm enjoying it, yeah. The game is a great game. It's been good to me and I enjoy every moment of it and the people involved in it.
Alan Dix is now the chief coach of the Greensboro Dynamo. Since leaving Ashton Gate, his career has spanned spells as far afield as Greece, Cyprus and Qatar. And there was even a brief abortive spell back in England with Fulham.
Don't look at them, whip it in, keep it down.
The heart of the club was chairman Harry Dolman, and in October 1967 he appointed Alan Dix as manager, flanked here by coaching staff John Sillett and Tony Collins.
Alan Dix was born and raised in London, an early success in 1947 as a member of a youth team winning its age group in the South London Championships. Football his passion, and 1949 more success and more trophies for the lad. National service in the early 1950s, Alan Dix in the Royal Air Force, once again on a winning side. The date, 1954. Signing as a professional, he was a midfield player with 3 clubs, first at Chelsea, later Millwall and Southend. Yes, the crowds were huge in those days, and Dix watches at a packed White Hart Lane as Len Dukman of Tottenham against Chelsea demonstrates that strikers could barge goalkeepers in those days. Dix in action at Stamford Bridge in the white shorts, challenging Dennis Wilshere of Wolves for the ball. In the action at Goodison Park, Dix watches as Reg Matthews is beaten by Derek Temple for an Everton goal in 1957. He served his management apprenticeship at Coventry City. 4 years there as assistant manager, learning from and being influenced by Jimmy Hill. Coventry's light blues set new trends in public relations and football presentation in the early 1960s, and they also had success on the field, moving all the way from the 4th Division up to the 1st. Things were taking off at Coventry and for Alan Dix. One of the young players he coached then was Bobby Gould, later to be signed by Alan for a record fee for Bristol City. That's Bobby, right of your frame there. By 1967, Alan ready for management on his own, and in October that year, he becomes the most expensive employee at Ashton Gate, City's new manager, at £80 a week.
What were the basics you looked in building that side? What did you look for?
Well, always look for people who wanted to win. And those people who could score goals, always wanted a goal scorer. And when you think that we had our John Gallis, the Cheesleys, Tommy Riches, you know, we had people there. And a little bit of size as well. The 6-foot strikers against the small one, I would always go with the bigger one. And to be competitive all over the field and want to win, and that's what we had.
These days, Jeff Merrick is still based in Bristol, running a small but successful building company. He made his debut as a 17-year-old at Aston Villa in 1968 and would go on to become the club's promotion sweeper and captain.
There's no other team in the country that I would have wanted to play for. I mean, Bristol City were the team. I mean, I'd been there with my father. We'd gone since I was 7 or 8 years old, and to actually be on the staff was something I just couldn't imagine. It was a team of lads. We all enjoyed one another's company. We went out together. We had a lot of ability, and we had time to gel.
Tell me about Alan Dix, because he was the man who took Bristol City up, kept them up during those glory years. What kind of a manager was he?
He was a good manager. He was very sharp, very sharp. We trained very hard. He was very physical. I was captain for 10 or 11 years, but we didn't always see eye to eye. We had our ups and downs. We didn't agree on things.
Another local lad who made good, Chris Garland, grew up watching City play from his council flat overlooking the ground. A key figure in the years leading up to promotion, he was sold to keep the club solvent for a fee of £110,000, the equivalent of £1.5 million today.
When I was first at school, I didn't think I'd ever make it as much as I have at the moment, and I'm very pleased to be where I am. I think we've got to learn a lot, and I think I've learned a lot in the past 5 years since I joined the apprentice staff.
What would you say you've learnt, the main things?
The different sides of football. When you're at schoolboy football, it's just, there's no tactics or things like this. You just got to play off the cuff, you know. But here, there's tactics, there's marking men, different men. You set positions, you must always cut out the difficult things and play the easy things.
What are your attitudes about playing for Bristol City and Bristol? How do you feel about this?
Very proud to play for Bristol City. And I think I will be even more prouder if we can get higher up that league.
And into the First Division?
And into the First Division, yeah.
Garland, sharp. Garland again. Bush.
Alan Dix was at the club for a fair time before the glory years arrived. What were those years like?
9 seasons, Will. He got the job in 1967, as I said, bottom of second division. It took him 3 or 4 years to keep them up. I mean, it was nip and tuck about relegation, you know, just surviving. Getting some good old pros in to keep them up. And then started to build and find these youngsters. That was the key.
They respected me and I respected their ability. Sometimes we had a few problems when you leave boys out the side, but you had to, as long as you look them in the eye, tell them the truth and get on with it. I think that's the object. I never tried to mislead anybody, you know. I was always honest with them, and we found the way of getting the kind of average player to play well, and they fitted in well with our team pattern.
Now with the Royal Mail in Portishead, Tom Ritchie was one of many teenage recruits from Scottish junior football. He matured into a regular goal scorer in the seasons leading to promotion and became a key figure during those First Division days. Another Scot, Jerry Sweeney, is still with the club, helping to coach the youth team. A £20,000 buy from Morton, he filled the right-back position in the promotion side.
When I first come, Tom was a budding, I think, 17-year-old at the time, and he was a great player. His industry was tremendous. He had great ability, good quick feet. He could work the ball in between his feet and wriggle out of tight situations. And he had a great engine. He could get up and down the park. He was tall, he was good in the air.
Ritchie. It's there. Tom Ritchie has scored between the near post and Mike Mahoney. The keeper won't be pleased with that.
The more experienced players, like when I say Jerry, he's a little bit more experienced than us. which helped us in it. I mean, there was Jerry, Brian Drysdale that played in the side that really helped us as kids.
Part of the midfield were Jerry Gow and Trevor Tainton, an effective combination. Tainton's passing balanced perfectly by Gow's sometimes fearsome tackling. And his swashbuckling style later earned him a place in Manchester City's FA Cup final team of 1981. Gow was always a great favourite with the fans.
Good cross. Royals got Ritchie behind him. It's a chance for Gow. And it's there. A beautifully worked goal with Jerry Gow getting his first goal of the season.
Goalkeeper Ray Cashley started his career as a full-back in the club's youth team, an inspirational figure who thought nothing of throwing himself at the feet of rampaging strikers. On one occasion, he even found the net himself with a massive goal kick.
Actually, I played in goal a couple of times when one of the other keepers got injured when I was playing on the outside. And anyway, John Sillett then was the coach down here. He asked me if I'd like to try in goal, because they had a few other people trying. And they thought I was the best out of the bunch, so they threw me in at the deep end kind of thing.
John Sillett was a very hard man. In the pre-season training, he really put the players through it. I can remember the players vomiting with the sheer effort of the training had on them, but it made them very strong. And so he could be the hard man, you know, like the two detectives, the nice guy and the hard guy. Sillett would be the hard guy, and Alan Dix was the nice guy. And that was a great partnership.
Another favourite with the fans, Keith Fear, now works in the fruit business in Bristol. A player of great individual skill and vision, he challenged for the frontline vacancy when Chris Garland was sold.
My best impression of Alan is when I left Bristol City and saw what other managers were like. You realise then that he was very good. And his strengths were that he would get people organised, he would get them motivated, he'd have an idea what they wanted, and he built up a camaraderie that made Bristol City want to win.
The boss was unbelievable. I mean, if you look at the money it's about today to what he had then and the job he did, it's only later years you think, yeah, he'd done a great job. His strengths were he could motivate, he would let you know when you weren't doing it, but he could also say, you know, he could praise, and it was, you know, it was a good thing in him.
David Rogers, today facilities manager at Clifton College, was the son of former City striker Arnie Rogers. He played at the heart of the defence, but often chipped in with some invaluable goals. Clive Whitehead now works at a bank in Worl, but as a precocious young winger spotted by Alan Dix playing in a Midlands youth team, his speed and skill added an extra dimension to the side during the crucial run into promotion. Later converted to fullback, many feel he could have played for England had he stayed on the wing.
Looking back on it at the time, I always thought it was difficult, but looking back on it, it was like some sort of father figure, really, Dixie. I mean, he was used to put his arm around you, he always used to be on to me, making sure I was doing things right and looking after myself. So in that respect, he always looked after me quite well. I was one of the younger ones because it was a fairly old team then. I mean, if you interview the others now, I mean, they do look old. I mean, compared to me, because they're cracking on a bit. And there was me and Gary Collier.
Gary Collier can now be found basking in the sun of California. He's still involved with football, though, as a coach employed by drinks giant Pepsi Cola as part of the company's youth soccer programme. A key member of the team that went up, he held the centre-half berth for much of the First Division campaign too.
20 years ago, it doesn't seem that long to me. I mean, I still remember it like it was yesterday, and Bristol City is still really strong in my heart, and it's funny, sometimes I wake up in the morning and say, you know, I had a dream last night. And whenever I dream about soccer, I'm always playing for Bristol City, or practicing with Bristol City. It's never any other teams that I've played for, you know, since.
What sort of a team was it? Was it a classy team? Was it a hard-working team? Was it a team that had a lot of spirit and got through on a minimum of ability? What do you think?
definitely hard working. I mean, there was not many teams that used to like playing us, and I think it's because they knew that they were going to be in for a fight. You know, we never used to lose too many games by big scores. You know, if we did lose, it'd be 1-0, and the other team always knew that they'd been in a game when they played us.
The last piece of the jigsaw was striker Paul Cheesley. He signed for City after leaving his native Bristol for a brief spell at Norwich. A modest £30,000 fee tempted him back to replace Bobby Gould, and he proved arguably Dick's most important buy. These days, Cheesley is a salesman in Bristol and has lost none of the stature that made him the scourge of so many defences. Tell me about Alan Dix. What kind of a manager was he? How did he help you?
Well, initially, we were at loggerheads a little bit because we had a few differences of opinions in the way I should play and the way that he wanted me to play. I think it was the players really that influenced me more than anything.
And so you had the 5 Bristolians, the 4 Scots, Drysdale from the north and Clive Whitehead from the Midlands. That was the team.
We're going to go through the same programme. See if we can play to red shirts.
So Alan Dix had the players he believed could lift City into the country's elite. But he still had the task of finding the right blend. And as any manager will tell you, that can be the hardest job of all. For Dix, it wasn't always a bed of roses.
Let's start getting down and touching the ball. Good.
Mind you, he nearly got the sack a couple of times. It was only cup runs that kept him in his job once. He was close to the sack as you've got to be if you go 9 seasons.
We'd gone through many different ups and downs. One where I clung on to the job by my fingernails, and that was when I managed to survive after we beat Leeds in the Cup and lost to Liverpool, so that was always stays in my mind.
But it's great. You play in front of a full house against a team of 11 internationals. I think they hadn't been beaten for 40-odd games. And then we were totally written off going to Atland Road. And I think during that period there'd been a minor strike. We played on an afternoon, 40-odd thousand up there, and I think we were 9-1 underdogs.
If it had been a boxing match, the game would have been stopped after 15 minutes. Leeds absolutely pounded us. And it's like they say, even today, it doesn't matter who's playing who, you always get a chance or 2 chances. And we broke away, and Keith happened to get, I can't remember who he went round, he squared the ball, Harvey came out and I've just stuck my foot out in front of Norman Hunter, and I mean, the rest is history. And then Norman joined us shortly after that and said it was him. He said it was an own goal, but I don't believe him.
Having beaten Leeds, it was a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire for City, because the next visitors to Ashton Gate were Bill Shankly's Liverpool.
So Bristol City kick off. Red shirts, white shorts, the conquerors of Leeds United here in the 6th round, attacking the goal to our right. Liverpool in white today with black shorts, and you could almost reach out and touch the atmosphere here at Ashton Gate this afternoon. A throw then which Jerry Sweeney takes for Bristol City. Back for big Tom Ritchie. Crossed in by Gary Collier there. Hunt is right in there. Now will this fall for Tainton? No, it won't. But here's Ernie Hunt again. Back this time for Brian Drysdale for Bristol City. The high cross again, and Clements has to use his fist. Can Hunt turn it back again? And it's no more than a fraction wide.
The year came when you actually did it. What was that season like to play?
Oh, that was superb. I mean, we went away from home knowing we were going to win. We just had that confidence. There was that air around the club, and everybody was so confident and played so well, which was lovely. The crowd were behind us. We mixed it up with them as well, had some fun. It was a real good fun year.
I thought, yes, there's a feeling here. They are going to do it. Because you could sense the power in the side. Very strong physical team.
What did you used to tell those players before the big games that gained promotion? What was your main message?
Well, always to remember the basics, you know. If you're going to go into tackle, make sure you win it, or the other guy doesn't run away with it. When you're passing, pass to your side, get it there. And when you're working hard to get back into position as you are to get forward.
That promotion season, half of the team played every game in the league, all 42 games. Can you imagine that today? Merrick played 42 games that season, all 42 games. So did Gow, so did Tainton, so did Ritchie. Collier played 40. The goalkeeper, Cashley, played 100 consecutive first-team games the night they won promotion. So these were people who you didn't have to worry who was going to play this week. The same team played week in, week out. For me, the outstanding player in the promotion season was Jeff Merrick. The captain and sweeper alongside Collier.
In the squad that had promotion, there were, I think, 7 or maybe 8 Bristol boys. They were actually from Bristol, lived in Bristol, they played for Bristol boys, and they were in the team that got us to the First Division.
A hard-working team. They won an awful lot of games 1-0 or drew them 1-1. They were never a pushover for anybody. They weren't the most skillful side there's ever been, but they were very hard to beat.
The run-in was pretty tense. We had a spell, I don't know, it was March, where we had tough games away from home. It was all top of the table clashes away from home with West Brom, Sunderland, Charlton, Carlisle, all in the space of, I think it was the month of March. A tough schedule in front of us. And obviously, leading into that, you're looking and you're thinking, dodgy games, but if we can get something out of each game, then you never know. And when we get through that month, then I felt really deep down, I felt we had a great chance of getting up.
It came down to 4 games in Bristol, 3 at home and 1 over at Eastwood against the Rovers. And that's when it came to that. And they drew against the Rovers. And then it came to the last 2 games, and they needed 2 points. Both going to be at home, Portsmouth here and Notts County here. So it was it was all there to be done. If they missed it, it would be their own fault.
The crucial match had arrived. Victory over Portsmouth at home, and City were up.
It started very early, actually. It was about the 3rd or 4th minute into the game. Obviously, we had to win to get ourselves promoted. And about the 3rd minute, the ball come over, Cheese flicked it on, and I just volleyed it straight in that top corner over there. And the next thing I knew, I'd ended up over there, everybody on top of me in a heap. And it just happened that quickly. And I think at the time when it all happened, I think the consequences of it didn't really sort of sink in. And I could feel it, with the crowd, the fact that we'd actually won and we got promoted. And it was a marvellous achievement.
The players were very nervous, if I remember. It was a nervous few minutes and, to the period we scored the goal, and then it started to take over. Then 5 minutes from the end, they started to run on, I believe. You had to push them off, and I think the game ended inside the 90 minutes, I think, with the enthusiasm of the crowd.
It was emotional, very, very emotional. For the manager, for the coaching staff, for all the players, wives, girlfriends, everyone involved. We'd all worked so hard. It was fabulous. It was fabulous for the city of Bristol.
They were never going to lose that game. They were young men who had got the bit between their teeth, and that was it. They were going for the finishing line, and they got there. Great night, great night.
Every time the whistle blew, they thought, oh, that's it, and would start to rush on the pitch, of course. And say, oh, no, get back, still another few minutes to go. And at the end, when the whistle did go, it's a jubilant scene.
I remember turning to the referee and saying, no, for God's sake, finish this game, because if we make a mistake and they equalise, they're going to come on and kill us. They were waiting to come on and pat us on the back, but if things had changed, then it would have been a disaster.
That last 5 minutes seemed like an eternity, You kept looking at the referee, you knew the crowd were ready to come on. It was,
Obviously the game tonight was tense. Wasn't our best football match, but then it's 42 games in a year. And
the best moment of your footballing life?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
What I would like to say tonight, obviously we're all very, very pleased and proud, and I'm a very proud man tonight, and it is one of the most marvellous moments of my life that we are moving forward.
The deeds of those players have become the stuff of legend. But what was life like off the pitch? For the supporters, after years of slumming it in the game's backwaters, these were truly days to savour.
And it was a great scene, you know, much the same as anybody winning the FA Cup or League. You know, we had our day, and it was terrific to be there.
The city had a football team it could be proud of. It had a football team of the calibre Bristol should have. They were known in the restaurants and the nightclubs. They all had a good time. They were young men full of spirit. They weren't no angels.
We went all round Hartcliffe, we went through Bedminster, we went all over, and the crowds lined the streets, and then it culminated in a speech for me outside of the council houses on College Green.
After travelling around the city, you people deserve as much credit as we do. You've been absolutely tremendous. Thank you very much indeed.
What did you feel when the fixture list was first released and you saw Arsenal away as your opener?
The first thing you think of is Super Mac, just been signed for $350,000, Alan Ball captain, Jimmy Rimmer in goal, Pat Rod, Sammy Nelson. Need I go on?
The actual build-up to it was absolutely fantastic. You know, I mean, going to the marble halls of Highbury.
I remember travelling up the motorway, and every other car was a Bristol City car. You know, the scarves were coming out, and then as we came down over to Highbury's in a bit of a sort of ditch, you know, it's just down low. You go down over a big hill, and when we went down, the people, the atmosphere, and it was a boiling hot day.
Everybody was sort of very hyped up at Arsenal, thinking, oh, this is great, you know. And as we're going in the turnstiles, all these chaps are saying, oh, don't score yet, Super Mac, you know, wait till we all get in, and we're all squashing in through the turnstiles like this. Is not something that, you know, you're used to at Ashton Gate.
I was 12th man that day, and I was in the dugout at Arsenal, and it was like glass, and we were cooked. And the support that day, I think there was about 7,000 or 8,000 Bristolians there.
And then when we actually ran out, it's just a dream. Just couldn't believe it.
65 years since they played in the First Division, thriving on good teamwork last season and the excellent work of manager Alan Dix. But it was noticeable how many of them arrived at Highbury's front door this afternoon and had to ask which way to go. It really is a new world for them. But their team is a settled one. It's the one that basically saw them up from the Second Division. And in the side are two men that Arsenal themselves badly wanted to buy for a good part of last season. One of them is the Bristol City skipper wearing the number 6 shirt, Jeff Merrick, a disciplined and stylish defender. The other is striker Tom Ritchie from Scotland, 19 goals last season. The referee, Gordon Kew of Amersham, starting his last season on the list.
Collier with the good long high one again there towards Cheesley. Won it well in the air. Ritchie
Just over the top and very little to spare. A long, long free kick. A good, beautiful jump there by Cheesley. And just look how quickly Ritchie left everybody. And just over the top. Certainly Bristol City look well in control of themselves at the moment. Here's Ritchie. Stopped by Simpson, but it only comes to Whitehead. The little chip coming in towards Cheesley. Oh, how unlucky he was, hitting the full of that Arsenal post with a beautifully timed header from the Bristol City number 10. Good play here by Whitehead, a really delicate little cross, and Cheesley getting up above O'Leary against the post. Here's Gow again. Really tough little worker. Drysdale. Good run here by Mann. And Armstrong going back, and he's left Armstrong, still with Jimmy Mann. Played back this time to Cheesley, and he didn't quite catch it properly as Nelson got in there and half stopped him. But another very good raid indeed by Bristol City. When Mann had left George Armstrong, Arsenal were in trouble. The little played back there, and Cheesley couldn't quite make it. Here they come again with Jerry Sweeney, number 2. Well, he's been allowed to go a long way. He might even get a shot in. No, it's with Tom Ritchie instead, but he stayed right up there, and Paul Cheesley on the far side waiting to get the header in, which he does. Oh, and it almost caught him out. Well, he's dynamite in the air, and Ritchie knew it as he slung that long crossover. Cheesley on the far side again. He's already hit the post once in the first half, and he had Rimmer in certain difficulties there. Tainton to Mann. Scoop forward this time. Now Ritchie all right. He's onside. Now can he make something of this? He can't, because O'Leary did a magnificent job in defence for Arsenal. The ball's still in play though. Ritchie recovering and finding Whitehead. Another nice little cross by him. Oh, no doubt about that one from Cheesley.
When the goal came, I mean, I could have jumped over the stand. It was wonderful.
I was playing against the lad Nelson at the back, and he didn't really know which way I was going, to be fairly honest. He couldn't work me out, and it just, no surprise when I just crossed one in and Cheese headed thumped one straight in the corner of the net. I mean, it was just all that we couldn't have had a better start to be in the First Division.
Well, he's put over so many lovely little crosses, Whitehead, and there was another of them. The marking very questionable there. The heading superb of Paul Cheesley, and Bristol City score their first goal back in the First Division.
It was the highest spot, I think, of our career in the First Division yet. A pity it was on the first day.
One for the Bristol City, 2 for the boys in red, 3 for the fans down Ashton Gate. Follow till we're dead, me boys. Follow till we're dead.
3 days after that extraordinary game at Arsenal, over 32,000 people packed into Ashton Gate for the first home game of the season against Stoke City. Paul Cheesley was the man of the moment, and he must have felt he had the world at his feet. Fate, though, had other plans.
We were putting some pressure on. The ball came across. I'd gone for a ball. Peter Shilton had come out. We just brushed shoulders, and I eventually ended up in a pile on the floor. But having seen the video 1,000 times over, people blame Peter Shilton. He didn't do a thing. I'd love to have an excuse to blame somebody for ending my career, but I just fell awkwardly.
When you do that, a little bit. No pain when I do that to you?
Yeah, you made a tremendous start to the season. Personally, you really shook the Arsenal up. You looked very good for 15 minutes, and then bingo, you can be out for weeks.
Yeah, well, that's the game, I suppose, isn't it?
How long do you feel it might be before it's right?
I haven't any idea, but I had this trouble before. It was only a few weeks, but I think with a bit of luck, it might be just 2 weeks. Well, to adjust at 23 years of age, finishing a career that could have been blossoming, it's a bit of a sad story, but, you know, I've had worse luck in my life. You just got to get up and kick again and get on with something else.
How good a player was Paul Cheesley? If his injury didn't stop him, I think he would play for England.
If you were comparing today, and I'm sure Paul wouldn't mind or be embarrassed, that he would be the sort of player that Les Ferdinand is, just maybe a different colour.
We never really replaced Paul. Paul was a superman, and he was a fabulous footballer. I don't necessarily say it was the finish of us, but it was one hell of a blow that I don't think we really recovered from.
Wallace is coming in, but this is Ferguson. And another brilliant save by John Shaw. Oh, what a fine effort by Wallace and by Shaw. Well, John Shaw will never play a better game for Bristol than the one he's having this afternoon.
One of the key signings was Norman Hunter, who'd earned himself a fearsome reputation as one of the hardest players in the league, playing for Leeds, then quite simply, the hardest team in the league.
I was very disappointed when Alan signed Norman. I moved over to left back, and I don't think I ever really played as consistently well as I did in the central defence.
20-3, he used to take his shirt off, his clothes, and he'd put his strip on, and it was like his neck used to come up, and it was like two faces. And for 90 minutes, it was a different person.
His own ability to play was tremendous. I think he's probably one of the best left-sided defenders England has produced. But Norman was tremendous on the pitch. Off the pitch, you'd be come back from away games, and normally the lads used to play cards and all that. And Big Norman used to scoop the cards up, throw them out the window. Right, let's get down. We'd talk about football.
Man behind, also Hunter. Plenty of variations for Bristol. It's for Hunter, and it's a lovely goal, extremely well taken by Norman Hunter. Brings him his third goal of the season.
The prodigal son returned to Ashton Gate at a cost of £110,000, exactly the same fee it had cost Chelsea to prize him away 5 years earlier.
Cook back to Mulligan. Osgood versus Blockley, and it falls for Garland, and it's not beautifully now for Osgood. A chance for Chelsea, and Osgood has put Chelsea ahead. With under 3 minutes gone, the goal made for him by Chris Garland, and look at them hugging Garland, the new hero of Stamford Bridge. The goal made for the old hero, Peter Osgood. So exactly the start that Chris Garland would have wanted. Now for Cook. A low one this time towards Garland and towards Webb. He had time to think Garland. And that's number 2 by Garland. Harris. Again one towards the near post. Garland up well. Chris Garland.
Along with the glamorous new signings came glamour of another variety, as City attempted to emulate pre-match entertainment, American style.
We had the dancing girls, didn't we? The drum majorettes, the cheerleaders. Great atmosphere. It was big-time stuff, you know, it was like Hollywood.
Liverpool, the league leaders, one of the all-time great club sides. They've got nothing left to prove in football.
It was tremendous. I mean, we had all the big players came here, and everyone learned from it, Bristol City included, because they lost a lot of the games. They were up against some very good teams.
Ray Kennedy's tackle. Sweeney. Ray Kennedy intercepting and sending highway. Rogers is close. Sweeney's trying to get back. Dalglish is in the middle, and it's beautifully cut out by Hunter. Hunter, and what a goal! Well, what a tremendous goal by Norman Hunter. And Clayton just touched it, and that rocket really took Wood by surprise. A tremendous example of how to use a free kick to maximum use.
Look at those huge crowds that turned up here at the end of that first division. I should never forget that. That survival at the end of not only the Coventry match, but the games against Leeds, Liverpool and Manchester United here, which City drew 1 and won 2, because they looked dead and gone with 4 games to go that season, but they survived. Over 32,000 of us were at Ashton Gate to see City attempt the impossible. A few days later, Tommy Docherty's United side were to win the FA Cup, but that Saturday they met a Bristol side fired with a new passion. In the electric atmosphere, the match threatened to boil over. United's Houston was carried off with a broken leg. Gowan McIlroy sent off for fighting. United were to score first from a penalty, but City weren't finished because a brilliant run by Clive Whitehead was to set up a chance for Chris Garland. And he was to knock home a priceless goal. So a 1-1 draw then, a vital point, but the relegation threat still loomed for City and their excited fans. Just 3 days later, another huge crowd and another giant killing act required, this time against Leeds. A rejuvenated Chris Garland was leading the City attack as his team threw everything at their opponents. But as shots by Garland and Tom Ritchie kept missing, it looked as though all City's fire and brimstone was going to be frustrated. City just couldn't score, it seemed. But then it was to be that man Garland again. Balancing himself now in a crowded Leeds box, he struck home a great shot. 1-0 then, and City had achieved a crucial, vital victory. 6 days later, it was mighty Liverpool's turn to enter the Ashton stronghold, the last home match of the season, and a record crowd of over 38,500 came to see if City could now continue to achieve the impossible. At first, things went badly wrong because David Johnson scored for the First Division champions. But City weren't finished, and yet again it was the head of Chris Garland beating Ray Clements twice to give City an incredible win.
The game that really sticks out to me was the game that we needed to win to stay in the First Division up at Coventry. I mean, that one really sticks in my mind.
The hero of City's fight against relegation, Chris Garland, and all of his City teammates, they knew the size of the job they faced that spring evening. One relegation place remained, and either Sunderland, Coventry, or City would go down. Sunderland faced Everton at Goodison. City were off to meet Coventry at Highfield Road. Factories emptied, offices closed, and according to legend, a Crown Court jury were let off early so they could join the convoy of City fans trekking for Coventry. Indeed, so many of us converged on Highfield Road, the kick-off was put back to let us all in. But at Everton, the Sunderland match was starting properly on time. A crowd of nearly 40,000, half up from Bristol, crammed into that Coventry ground, and they saw the home side take an early lead. Scorer, Tommy Hutchison. Just 7 minutes into the second half, and a defensive blunder by City lets Hutchison in again. Awful moments for City now. 2-0 down, a result that would send them straight back to the second division.
We were getting all these articles where Coventry were on X amount of money per man to win, and it was all quite a hype. It was packed ground, 2-0 down.
But the Bristol side were fighters, and almost immediately, Donny Gill is there, headed down, and Jerry Gow sweeps it home. What a time to score his only goal of the season. But still City were facing that drop. But 11 minutes from the end, a long free kick was to find that man Garland in the box. He gets it onto Gillies. Time seems to stand still, but the ball squeezes home. 2-2. Sunderland's match on Merseyside had ended first, and immediately Coventry chairman Jimmy Hill had it controversially flashed up onto the scoreboard. Sunderland, you see, had lost, and that meant the 2-2 draw made Coventry and City safe with minutes to go.
We let Coventry have the ball, we let them keep it in their own half, and they just knocked it about. And I can always remember someone shouting to Mick Ferguson, I think he was playing up front for them. I think they shouted to him, "Oi, stay in your own half, you're not allowed in here."
Fans went wild. City had pulled off a Houdini act. They'd drawn with Manchester United, they'd beaten Leeds and Liverpool, and now they'd come back from 2-0 down against an equally desperate side. City and Coventry embraced as they came off. After all, they were sharing survival. It was the relief of men who'd really escaped from a footballing Alcatraz. Manager Alan Dix took the adulation outside. It really had been an incredible fight back by his men over those vital 4 last games. All Bristol seemed caught up in the emotion.
I've never seen nothing like that in all my life either. I'm a Rover supporter. Young Kevin Mabbott, 14 years old, taking part in a schoolboy kickabout on the park out Mangotsfield way. About as far as you can get from the First Division. On the touchline, his father, Ray Mabbott, and a little boy, brother Gary, now the England defender. So many clubs were after young Kevin, it seemed that the boy could take his pick. His father, a former Rovers player, had groomed him from the moment that he was born. Everything had been geared to soccer stardom. At this time, though, Kevin didn't fancy Bristol City.
Now, tell me why, then, the Arsenal, out of all this, what, dozen top clubs and the two Bristol ones, why are the Arsenal going to win your affection?
Well, they've got everything. They've got the past history, the last 50 years they've been in the First Division. They've got the players, they've got youngsters coming through. They've got the facilities, the most important to bring their young players through.
Of course, a lot of people would hope that you would join one of the Bristol clubs and then, if necessary, go on and be transferred for a big fee. Then everyone would be happy.
Yes, well, I think that's in everybody's mind in Bristol. But really, it should go straight to the top. You know, anybody who's got to go somewhere in life has got to go to the top and not work their way up.
All those years ago, the attention was focusing on Kevin. No one thought then that Gary, in fact, would become the England star. They were moments for Father Ray, certainly, to savour.
Certainly, right from when we knew we were having a child, and when it was a son, obviously we wanted him to be a footballer. So the stage was set for him. He's been given every encouragement, and so therefore I'm very satisfied that he's got as far as he has. We just hope he goes the rest of the way.
But after all that, Kevin did sign for Bristol City, a signature to be worth countless thousands to that club.
Didn't the glamour of the big clubs attract you at all?
Tremendously at first, and I used to say, I want to sign for this club and I want to sign for that club because there's so many good players there and I like being with so-and-so. But if you go to a top club, you're more likely to be led astray in life and your head could swell. But now I'm at home, then everybody can keep an eye on me.
Despite his age, City thought Kevin would be in their first team within a year. They were convinced they had a star. The stage was set.
You've turned down the big clubs. What's your big ambition?
My real ambition is to play for England in the World Cup and to be the captain and to win the World Cup.
Today he lives in the United States, running one of Santa Fe's most fashionable restaurants. Now with an accent that blends the west of England with the west coast of America, his business acumen is as sharp as he ever was on the field of play.
Do you ever think about Bristol and your days as a football player?
Yep, every so often I reminisce and get the videos out. Again, after a couple of glasses of wine, usually late at night, I get in front of the video and reminisce.
That's the new boy, Kevin Mabbott, full of promise, 18 years of age, an England schoolboy international. This is his first game at home in the First Division. Now, can they make more of this corner kick? They're trying to vary their approach. Hunter knocking it in. He goes Mabbott! Oh, a brilliant effort there by young Mabbott.
Kevin come in, scored some smashing goals for us. And for a small lad, did really, really well as a front player.
Whitehead into the box. A good little centre, and that's a goal! A wonderful goal by Kevin Mabbott! A fine centre by Whitehead, and Bristol have pulled the match.
But for Kevin, life wasn't just about scoring goals.
There was the sports car, the adoration of the fans, particularly the young and female variety, and the snazzy flat. What more could an 18-year-old want out of life? For a teenager, it was an absolute dream coming true, and later on there was even a big fan club, an Aston Martin, and some dangers.
As you were saying, the pop world has its young stars, but of course it's a different life for an athlete. The temptations that a pop star perhaps has got time for, do you feel you have time for?
No. You either go one way or go the other. I've seen enough players in my career, and I've only been in the game 3 years, and I've seen enough players go out of the game because they've gone the other way. And I've been lucky to have a stable family behind me, and they've helped me in everything that I've done. And I've seemed to have gone for the game and not against the game.
There was even the Kevin Mabbott Roadshow. His advisors were determined to cash in on his popularity, but it was something that didn't always endear him to the fans.
Whenever a professional footballer goes out onto the pitch, nothing at all worries him. He just concentrates on scoring goals. If he doesn't score a goal, it doesn't mean he's thinking because, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. It's nothing to do with that. What it is that when you get out on a pitch, you play soccer and you've got to score goals.
Well, this is the Kevin Mabbott Magic Van, and it's going to be touring between 400 and 500 schools in the West over the next few months. And young fans will be able to buy their very own Kevin Mabbott kit. It contains a fan club number, a Kevin Mabbott picture, autographed of course, and even a Kevin Mabbott magic pen.
That was sort of, one of the things that Kevin went about and did, but I can assure you got a bit of stick about it in the dressing room, But as I say, he took it all in good heart, and it was just, I suppose that was the start of things to come,
To partner the burgeoning talent of Kevin Mabbott, Alan Dix invested in Manchester City's experienced striker Joe Royle, and he made an instant impact with a 4-goal debut against Middlesbrough.
Joe was a colossus, lovely man, the gentle giant. He was so strong. Great motivator, Joe. You just sit and you could talk to Joe for hours, as we did, on tours. We spent half our lives on buses, and Joe, very, very intelligent guy, even outside football. He could talk about many things.
When he came along, it added something to the city. We had star players, we had household names. I think it's just a pity that to go with those players, we didn't have the money to actually go out and buy a few younger players with younger legs, just to give us a bit more buzz, maybe.
What was your thoughts going into that second season?
I always thought it was going to be a struggle. There were a lot of good sides about then. It's a difficult league. And Bristol City didn't really have the cash reserves of some of the other sides in that league, so we weren't going to be splashing out money left, right and centre.
I remember that when Alan Dix started to buy some of these more experienced players there at the time, it was a very good move, we felt at the time, because we had a lot of good players there at the club, and by bringing in Norman and Joe and Peter and Terry, it added a lot of experience there.
I think we were a good enough team to be at least, middle of the table sort of team every year. What went wrong? That's a tough one.
I don't know, I've been thinking about that for 20 years, and I've never really come up with a definite answer, but I think a lot of the blame would lie with the directors at the time. I think that there was an obvious need for an injection of cash, very similar to their problems today.
3 more seasons followed in the First Division, the best in 1978-79, when the club finished 13th. But all good things come to an end, and the club began their steady descent down the leagues with relegation from the First Division in 1980. Sentiment and football have never been the greatest of bedfellows, and just 5 games into the new campaign, Alan Dix's 13-year association with the club came to an abrupt end.
They had 4 years. And let's not forget that. They didn't go up and down like some teams do. They went up and stayed up for 4 years and had 4 wonderful years here. The Bristol public had 4 great years of First Division football, and all the media people like me enjoy that enormously.
I don't think I really gave Alan Dix enough credit for what he was doing for Bristol City. At the time, it's all ongoing. But I think he did a great job. I think the way he ran the club and got the best out of what was not necessarily a fantastic squad, but managed to cajole us into some very good performances.
He stuck with his faithful lads. Maybe it cost in the end.
With the 5 games in the 80 season, they got impatient, and I left after the 5th game of the season.
Could it happen again at Bristol City, or indeed in Bristol at all?
Definitely. It's down to a bit of application, it's about some want, it's about playing with heart and passion, and it's about getting close to the fans.
I come from Birmingham, which is a fanatical city for football. I wouldn't say Bristol was a fanatical city for football.
Once you start producing like a side that's capable of getting there and winning matches and challenging for promotion, you'll get your 15,000-20,000 back in the national game. I'm sure you would.
You just got to tap that great resource of human enthusiasm there is within Bristol and within 50 miles of Bristol.
It's a very difficult task, I think, to keep some of these better players at home. But I think it has to be done. You just cannot go on bringing these players through the ranks and selling them for a lot of money. I don't think if you're going to be a success, you can't do that.
If somebody can actually come along and generate some momentum, as we did in the 70s, then Bristol City will, without a question of a doubt, be great. And I would love to be a part of it.
Well, there's a new regime at Ashton Gate, young, who want to do the job. Scott Davidson and John Laycock, they want to do it.
And so the wheel turns. 20 years on, one of the youngsters who cheered Clive Whitehead's historic strike is now shaping the club's future. For Scott Davidson, the way forward lies in the past. How much of a debt do you really owe to that team, do you think?
I was hooked. I mean, it changed my life. That following that team and seeing the success into the First Division changed my life forever. I was actually in the crowd the day we went bottom of the Fourth Division, so I can remember all of that.
That's for Gillies. A good nod down. And it's there!
We've had a bad couple of seasons, the last 2 or 3 years, but I think we're now on our way back. I really do want to see that feeling of a club and the passion come back. One of the plans we want to kick off with next season is a Legends Bar, and probably an extension of the Legends Bar, Legends Restaurant up here in the Williams stand. I've already spoken to Paul Cheesley and Jeff Merrick, and they're going to organise the ex-players, not only just of that era, but all ex-players are very welcome to come along and be hosts to the fans of Bristol City, and I think it'll go down very, very well.
And finds Tinian on the burst. Tinian first time, great chip, great goal. 2-0 for Bristol City, and didn't Brian Tinian enjoy that?
One question we've asked, I think, all the players, and perhaps you're the most pertinent person to ask this question, is can it happen again?
Let's wait and see.
So 20 years to the day, the class of 76 returned to their old stamping ground. One last chance to grace the turf which they served with such distinction all those years ago.
Goalkeeper Ray Cashy.
And I'd gone up through from 7 years old. Probably when I came out of the Arsenal, I was, I don't know, 25, 26. And to actually be captain of my team in the First Division on a sunny day at the Arsenal, marvellous, magic.
Everybody now!